Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jerry from Simply Cyber, and this is your LimaCharlie Cyber News Report, the top cyber news stories you need to know about right now. First up, former Chief Security Officer Joseph Sullivan of Uber has been found guilty on 2 different counts and is facing up to 5 years and 3 years of prison for each of those counts. Now, the main problem here was that Uber was hacked and a cover-up was executed. Joseph Sullivan was brought in 2015 as the executive at Uber to help protect it. And part of the inheritance that Joseph Sullivan received was Uber had been breached in 2014. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, was investigating this particular hack and had interviewed and deposed Joseph Sullivan around this hack and what Uber was doing to secure its assets. Shortly after that conversation with the FTC, Joseph Sullivan found out that Uber had been breached again and 2 hackers had actually exfiltrated a lot of sensitive data to include information on Uber drivers, so personal information. Now, instead of coming clean, it was alleged, and he was found guilty, that Joseph Sullivan made an effort to hide this breach and kind of sweep it under the rug, including paying off the 2 hackers and asking them to sign a non-disclosure agreement that they wouldn't talk about this particular breach. Now, this definitely goes into the realm of not handling an incident the correct way. A lot of individuals' personal information was compromised in this. They were not notified of that. Uber, as a company, was trying to not make this aware to anyone, as well as it's reported that Joseph Sullivan actually had misled the new CEO of Uber who had been brought in on the severity and level of this particular breach. And, ultimately it came to be that he was held accountable. This also brings an interesting role to the idea of the CISO as the person who is held accountable, brought before the judge, if you will, on why something bad happened. Again, I want to reiterate, this wasn't that Uber was hacked and that the CISO didn't do a fine job protecting the organization. It was how that hack was handled, how the notification went out, how the affected parties were handled in this case. So he will be going away. The next item that you should know about, hopefully you already know about this, is that there was a massive second attack on Microsoft Exchange, on-premise versions of Microsoft Exchange. Now, you might remember Proxy Shell from a while back last year, 2021. Big news. You could basically just exploit internet-facing Exchange servers and get access to them. Well, there are new 0 days that are being actively exploited, jokingly referred to as proxy not shell, that is very similar to the proxy shell. And essentially what it allows you to do is get access to the system, execute remote code, elevate privileges, kind of own the Exchange server, which is not good already. As an email, it is a critical piece of infrastructure. Plus, it's typically, if it's on-premise, it's going to be an internal asset that could then allow lateral movement, as well as threat actors sending emails as the CEO or as whomever they want within that organization. Right now, Microsoft has not released a patch to fix this. But if you do want to actually implement mitigations, Microsoft has released this through their Security Response Center. It's worth noting that if you initially implemented the risk mitigations that Microsoft had released, you need to go back and re-release that. As soon as the mitigations were released, it came out that they were easy to bypass, and there's documentation around that being bypassed. So go and reaffirm that you do actually have the most current mitigations. This is applicable if you are running Microsoft Exchange on-prem. If you're running hybrid, so you have it in the cloud and on-prem, you still have it on-prem, you're still exposed, and it is a sophisticated threat actor that is actively exploiting these. At least that's the current intel that we have at this time. Also, if you'd like to investigate to see if your actual Exchange on-prem instance has been exploited, Microsoft has released indicators of compromise to allow you to analyze your environment and determine if you've potentially been accessed. Quick little shout out and love to Kevin Beaumont, aka Gossi the dog on Twitter. Gossi the dog on Twitter. He is a security researcher or a security professional, and he breaks news all the time and really is engaged with the community. And he's been doing a lot with this proxy not shell. So I want to give a shout out. He's a must follow as far as I'm concerned. The next item is a phishing as a service platform that's kind of taken hold on the scene that you might want to be mindful of. It's called Caffeine. And one of the interesting things about Caffeine is that it doesn't really require any type of hoops or hurdles to go through in order to get access to the platform. You can just sign up and you're off and running if you can, put some money into it. Now, I think they have a couple different subscription models, but for as low as $250 a month, anybody can get access to this feature-rich platform, which has all sorts of functionality and features that can be taken advantage of. You can see here from the story, mechanisms that can customize dynamic URLs. You can see here there's mechanisms to customize dynamic URL schemas. You can configure first-stage campaign redirect pages and also do IP block listing if you'd like to not hit a certain region of the world, or not attack your own country perhaps. Also at this time, they only have landing pages to phish Microsoft Office 365 credentials, but considering the footprint and adoption of Microsoft Office 365 globally, this will get you quite a bit of reuse. So want to make you aware that right now there is a really widely accessible to very low skill level individuals to be able to wholesale send out massive phishing campaigns and, execute that first stage of many, many attacks. The final story I'd like to share with you is the protest in Iran and taking it back to late 90s style hacking, where hacktivism has taken over and they have taken over the TV airwaves. Now, right now, there is a very serious situation going on in Iran around the cultural access of certain individuals, specifically women, and how they dress. And there are protests right now. Some people have been died or killed. It's very, very volatile over there right now. And on the state-sponsored TV, the main channel was actually taken over, and a hacktivist message with content around how to rise up, how to connect with the group that is actually organizing and doing the protests and stuff like that. So very 90s style hacktivism, but in 2022, in current day, a very serious issue, but kind of an interesting hack and one that we don't commonly see in the modern era. Well, that's going to do it. Well, that's going to do it for this week's news cycle. Hope you got some value out of it. Remember to check out simplycyber.io/streams to get longer form, deeper dive cyber threat briefings every single morning. I'm Jared Lozier from Simply Cyber. Consider yourself armed with knowledge.